Welcome back. Former Senator Dr. Jimmy Fletcher has offered some advice to the nation's two most prominent political parties. Fletcher says, having observed and worked along with both administrations, he has noted some key areas of concern which could cost them the win at the next general election.
Constructive criticism is being offered to the leaders of the United Workers' Party and the St. Lucia Labour Party from the mind of former Senator Dr. Jimmy Fletcher. However, Fletcher says this is a form of discourse that the UWP administration has not been very welcoming to in the past. He believes that if this government is to regain the trust of St. Lucia's people, they must be humble and accepting of criticism. He implores them to give the people of St. Lucia a fair chance to outline how they would like to see the country governed.
This government has shown an intolerance for criticism. This government has shown it wants to categorize people. We all St. Lucians. Embrace people. Embrace everyone. You know, understand that everybody has a say in St. Lucia, and particularly St. Lucians. This government has shown a disdain for St. Lucians. We need to, you as a government, as a United Workers' Party government, need to show St. Lucians that they are as good as, and you believe they are as good as some of the foreign consultants and the other people that you're turning to. Instead of giving concessions to Ojo Labs, I can point you to 10 or 15 bright young St. Lucian men and women who, if you paid their salaries, put them in the same place where Ojo Labs is, they will be turning out apps and other products that would make St. Lucia proud and that would cause employment and that would have spin-off effects throughout the economy.
Fletcher says both administrations have been guilty of throwing away valuable time in a blame game spanning decades. He says this is even more detrimental in the case of the St. Lucia Labour Party, who is currently in opposition. He says criticizing the government will never be as beneficial as promoting oneself. He urges the SLP to place greater focus on gathering support as opposed to fueling resentment.
I think what the Labour Party needs to do is to present its plans to the people of St. Lucia. Tell the people of St. Lucia what you will do. And don't just tell them what you were doing before, because, you know, what we, and I'll say we because I was part of the administration, what we did between 2011 and 2016 got us voted out of office convincingly. We lost that election convincingly. So to just say that we will bring back this and we'll do this is not enough. You need to, it's a relationship. If you were in a relationship with someone and that person has left you for someone else, and you're trying to win that person back, you need to show them that you're a changed person, that you will make their life better, and that you're so much better than the person that they're with right now.
Fletcher says the actions taken between now and the next general election will be the true decider of fate, as in his own observation, neither party currently appears palatable to the average voter. Jacques Wooding, Hot 7 News.
Meanwhile, as announced by Prime Minister Alan Shastney, only some hotels are operating during this ongoing Phase 1 of the reopening of the island's tourism sector. The hotel properties that have been selected were required to undergo a rigorous process. The general manager of Bay Gardens walked us through these processes of obtaining certification and preparing to welcome guests.
Now that international travel is permitted into St. Lucia, General Manager of the Bay Gardens Beach Resort and Spa, Walter Patrick, explained that the company has gone above and beyond to ensure the safety of staff now that they have returned to work.
We will not allow the staff to go on property before they've done the temperature check. So wash hands, proceed to the nurses station, temperature check is done. After the temperature check, then they go and clock in. After clocking, then they disperse to go to their respective departments. So this is one thing we had to show to the ministry.
She indicated that guests and entertainers will no longer be allowed to mingle with each other, and only 30 persons will be allowed at the water park at any one time. Concerns have been raised about tourists and locals mingling on the beach, and she says, though the beach is a public facility, nationals have been very understanding and cooperative when it comes to the protocols put in place by the resort. The Hot 7 team interviewed one couple, Christopher and Elena Suonin, on the experience thus far, given all the new rules and regulations governing vacation.
It's been outstanding. Everything went very well. It was a very quick entry. We had our temperature taken and we're taken to our room. The dinner was outstanding, as well as the breakfast. The rooms were beautiful.
I think that you guys have the right track. You know, you are protecting your people. You are letting only people that are negative to the coronavirus in, and that's the way it should be, and you're doing it. So yes, everything is fantastic. The only thing that we didn't know is that we had to stay in the hotel only, that we couldn't go anywhere. That we weren't aware of. And we'll have to see if it changes or if it's going to be that way. Well, then we are going to try to make the best of it.
But you've been very accommodating in that you've been able to get necessities that we need on the outside, for instance, from the pharmacy, sunscreens and things like that.
She indicated that concerns were raised about staff when they are off duty. However, she has assured them that temperature checks will be constant, thus any irregularities will be spotted. Patrick noted that many changes had to be made to the operations of the restaurant, at the pool, the water park, and even the type of entertainment they provide guests.
The restaurant, in the past, our breakfast was a buffet breakfast. As it stands now, the system we have in place, the buffet area is attached to the wall, and right now to detach it is going to be a bit of a headache for us because we just put in this equipment. So for breakfast, we are going to do a la carte. And if you walk to the restaurant, you will notice that all our tables have been set with a 6 feet physical distancing, so the tables are not close to each other. Around the pool, we now had to put physical distancing markings because I remember when we walked with the auditor, we had the lounge chairs spread apart. But he said to me, spreading it apart without a message is not going to do it because the guests can just come. You know, the guests, they take a chair, they bring it there, they take it out, they move it. So once you have your message, you know, it tells them that you care about them, their safety is important, and they will adhere.
The general manager explained that the business incurred quite a cost trying to prepare for the reopening of the resort, as most of the supplies needed had to be ordered. She also explained that the task of receiving the certification was super tedious. However, she believes it was worth it. Staff at Bay Gardens will be given 3-day shifts to ensure as many persons as possible return to work. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Genevieve Gonzalez.
A daughter of the soil is using her public platform to call for a major change in St. Lucian history. Fiona Compton, daughter of the late Sir John Compton, is calling for the dismantling of the image of Admiral George B. Rodney, who has been a staple in St. Lucian history for centuries. Compton is riding on the wave of countries like the US and the UK who have embarked on the toppling of statues and monuments of individuals who profited off of slavery. Right here in St. Lucia, Rodney Bay in the town of Grosley and Admiral Rodney Rum are both named after the infamous naval strategist. Compton says it's time to expose the truth and to shine the light on true St. Lucian heroes instead.
The ripple effect continues to be felt around the world following the killing of African-American George Floyd on May 25, 2020. Floyd's death at the hands of a white police officer in the U.S. led to a worldwide uprising against racism and racial injustice and saw the masses taking action to say enough is enough in a number of different ways. One of the ways included the toppling of monuments and statues that represented and immortalized individuals who played key roles in the 400 years of slavery and oppression of Black people. On Friday, July 10th, Fiona Compton, who is the daughter of the late Sir John Compton, the father of the nation, pounced on the opportunity to take the same course of action right here in St. Lucia by starting a petition to change a misrepresented piece of local history. Her first target is Admiral George B. Rodney, a naval strategist who Rodney Bay and Grosley, as well as an award-winning rum, Admiral Rodney, are named. Speaking to Hot 7 News from the UK, Compton gave the reason behind the petition and why she chose the Admiral.
I came across the information concerning Admiral Rodney when I was looking for another piece of information, but it was just looking at the names of streets in the UK that are going to be changed, of people who have links to slavery. And there is a Rodney Street in Liverpool, and the mayor is currently working on removing his name. Rodney Street is also the home of John Gladstone, who was one of the largest slave owners in history. When I So it said that he was a pro-slavery advocate. So it basically said that, as I said in the information in the video, that Admiral Rodney was not just a British naval hero who captured St. Lucia, but he partook in several petitions against the abolition of slavery.
Compton said she decided to dig deeper, and the truth about Admiral Rodney became even darker.
Admiral Rodney had more influence in terms of keeping slavery running than individual slave owners. So all the individual slave owners who have these names in St. Lucia had less influence than Admiral Rodney, because he petitioned so many times against abolition of slavery. He petitioned against the 1788 Slave Act, which was created so that they put less enslaved people on ships. He petitioned against that, right? So he had greater influence than the individual slave owners. So it is because of him slavery stayed alive for so long. He was a huge enemy of William Wilberforce and all of that.
Compton said this was when she felt compelled to agitate to get the name of the northern community in St. Lucia changed. She said she is aware that many might oppose the idea, stating that it is too late to make such changes, and that if Rodney Bay is changed, then there would be a need to change many other community names across the island. However, Admiral Rodney, she said, stands out.
Obviously, it would be difficult to rename the whole of St. Lucia. We're not trying to erase our history, but it's shifting the narrative of our history. So if it is that we rename the bay after, say, maybe one of the Negma War, the brigands that were rounded up during our revolution in 1796, if it's after Flore, or, there's Lacroix, there's so many of our own local heroes. And I think just for the psyche of St. Lucians, in terms of our belief in ourselves, when children remember this renaming, this moment in history, that it is renamed, and it is going to shift how we perceive ourselves, other than the perception of, it's only the names of colonial heroes that are deserving of being named after our landmarks and landscapes, right?
Compton said this is not an attack on any specific government. Compton also revealed that the distillers behind the popular rum have been in contact with her and that they are holding discussions to get the name changed. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Rochelle Gonzalez.
Senator Adrian Oje believes there should be a reassessment of national holidays in light of recent Black consciousness discussions. He spoke to concerns about celebrating Columbus's arrival in St. Lucia, having the historical date dubbed a national holiday, whereas cultural holidays are not awarded such an honor. Jacques Wooding reports.
The demands for racial justice reverberating across the United States has reached the shores of the Caribbean and is fueling new life into arguments for the removal of monuments and holidays with colonial and racist legacies. Thousands of citizens are demanding the toppling of colonial-era statues of British naval commander and slavery sympathizer Horatio Nelson and various forms of tribute to Christopher Columbus. Senator Adrian Oje has kept abreast with these developments, offering his support for such action.
I think it's an age in which fundamentals are being revisited, fundamental things that we assumed and that we think we know about each other and our history and our relationships through history. These things are all being revisited in the COVID-19 environment, in the Black Lives Matter environment, in the wake of what's happened to George Floyd, in the revisitation of the Confederate flag and symbols of oppression worldwide. I believe, yes, the time has come for us, and many of us have said this before, as an independent nation of 40 years, to rethink our concepts of national consciousness, national awareness.
To this day, the arrival of Christopher Columbus is celebrated as National Day on December 13th. But why are dates relevant to the Caribs and Arawaks, whose settlement on island far predates Christopher Columbus's discovery, not celebrated in a similar fashion? Oje says this is one of many instances which must be revisited as Caribbean people reshape the identity of the region free of colonial biases.
Columbus discovered us. That's an unfortunate accident. We also have to consider what that meant for indigenous people, how that gave rise to the slave trade, which is why we are here. But at the same time, we are also amalgamation of so many different things, different races. And for each to have its rightful place in our consciousness, I think is appropriate. This is a time for the Caribbean to take stock. A lot of things, I believe, we need to revisit our economies, our development models, but probably the most important thing is the business of our history and our knowledge of self.
Online petitions launched on change.org by Caribbean nationals from Barbados, the Bahamas, and Trinidad and Tobago are gaining momentum and have received thousands of signatures in just a few days. In each case, organizers have retracted the racist legacies of Nelson and Columbus, who are memorialized in Britain's former colonies. Jacka Wooding, Hot 7 News.
Former ambassador to CARICOM and the OECS, Earl Huntley, believes that politics had an integral role to play in the demise of regional carrier Liat. Huntley says he is disappointed with the lack of interest in salvaging the carrier. He believes that Liat has left difficult shoes to fill and casts doubt that other carriers will be willing to operate less profitable routes.
It is the opinion of former ambassador to CARICOM and the OECS, Earl Huntley, that the demise of regional air carrier Liat was hastened by poor governance. Huntley believes that stakeholder governments did too little to effectively support the airline, noting that political tones may have riddled their decisions.
I wish the leaders of today had the vision that those had in 1974 when they set up Liat in 1974. Part of the problem of Liat is the airports. Again, it's because we are not seeing ourselves as one region. If this was one country from Antigua to Trinidad, we have 2 international airports. Maybe 3. One in Antigua, one in Trinidad, and maybe one in the middle. You're bringing people in from the big planes and take smaller planes to the smaller islands. You've got to have an international airport in each island. So you do that, you put high taxes. Liat cannot go. The cost of a Liat ticket, the money that comes to Liat is a third of what is on the ticket. Now that Liat is crashing, now the government is saying we're going to remove the taxes for the other airlines.
The former ambassador says the immediate expressions of interest by several airlines to fill the gaps once Liat ceased operations is symbolic of the necessity of regional travel. However, he emphasized that some routes will be left unattended.
I hear people say there are 6 airlines coming to take Liat's place. That confirms to me the magnitude of the service that Liat was providing. If 6 companies are going to take over what 1 company was doing, and I will bet you that they will cherry pick on the routes that you're going to take. You're not going to take the loss-making routes. So you see them doing Barbados St. Lucia, Barbados St. Vincent. These are the routes that they will take, and the smaller routes will be left.
Huntley stressed the need for consistent and reliable means of regional travel.
People need to move about in the region. And therefore, for me, Liat is a public good. It is something like education and health. It's part of the single market. If you want free movement of people, free movement of goods, you have to have the facility for people to do that. And therefore, given the difficulties of this market, I think it is incumbent upon the governments to sustain or to help an airline.
He says the region's leaders have their work cut out for them in regulating regional travel in future. Jacka Wooding, Hot 7 News.
This is the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. Stay with us. There's more coming up after the break.